Okay, now let's continue to look at the insect respiratory structure and its adaptation. So we'll start with the grasshopper. So you can see here, this is called the tracheal system, right? So we recognize this grasshopper. So it has got spiracles, the trachea, right? And then branching into tracheal, and these are the body cells. Okay, so another picture here for you to look at the tracheal system, or we call it as the air tube system, right? The spiracle just now. What is the spiracle? They are the small pores in the thorax and abdomen of insects. So you call it as spiracles, like the holes at the side of the body, abdomen. So the function is to allow air to go in, okay, the intake of air into the air tube system, okay, which is the tracheal system. So the trachea branches out to form finer tubes. So like what you can see here, these finer tubes are called tracheal, and it is the respiratory surface, okay, like our alveolus. So tracheal has the following characteristics that allow for efficient respiratory gaseous exchange. So you see here a large amount of tracheals, like our alveolus, yeah, the tracheals, they provide large total surface area for the exchange of gases. Okay, and then the wall of the tracheal itself is thin and moist. Okay, still remember the four adaptations earlier on we have discussed. So this allows oxygen to diffuse into the cells, and then at the same time carbon dioxide will diffuse out of the cells and into the tracheal. Okay, some insects, they have air sacs in the trachea system, okay, but usually it only presents in bigger insects like the grasshopper. So this sac is to be filled with air to speed up the delivery of respiratory gases during active body movements. Okay, so that means when the demand of air is high, this is when the sac came in to play its role, right? Okay, another picture, right? Just now we have said they are called the tracheal system, where we have the spiracle, the hole at the side of the abdomen. And here you have the trachea. So we have two over here. So we call it as tracheae, plural. Okay, branching out. These are the tracheoles. Okay, and they straight away, directly, they lead to these muscle fibers. Okay, directly supply it to the cells. Okay, this video is on the structure of the tracheal system, so please do not skip this informative video. Okay, next is on the fish respiratory structure and also the adaptation. So if you notice, okay, how many of you have cut fish before? So have you ever really looked into these the gills, the insang? Okay, actually it has got these 4 pairs of gills. Okay, and this thing is, we call it as the gill arch. Okay, 4 pairs of gills. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I'm sure you know the color of the gills, right? Yes, they are very red. And once again, that explains that it has got this dense network of blood capillaries. Okay, these are the filaments. Okay, you call these as filaments. And also in here, right, it has lamellae, this structure, lamellae, And okay, so let's look at it. The gills are made up of lines of filament, okay, supported by the gill arch. Gill arch, right? These are the characteristics, if you still remember. Thin, okay, lamellae. Plural, you call it as lamellae. A large number of filaments and lamellae, large number. Okay, another adaptation. Okay, next is very thin, okay, and supplied with many blood capillaries for easy diffusion of gases. Okay, another video here for you to watch, and that inside the video it explains also about the counter current mechanism. So please pay attention and learn about this counter current mechanism. Okay, the next organisms is frog. Okay, frog. So in an inactive state, the frog will use the skin, okay, for gaseous exchange. Okay, again, you can see the adaptation. Thin, highly permeable to respiratory gases, moist for the gases to dissolve into it. And also beneath the skin has got many networks of blood capillaries, okay, to transport the respiratory gases. Okay, apart from skin, they also have lungs like human beings. Okay, but there are some differences from the lungs of the human. So the surface of lungs is folded. All right, what for is to increase the total surface area for exchange of gases. And the lung membrane is thin. Again, you get to see the adaptation, moist, and also network of blood capillaries. Okay, another video about the frog. Respiratory structure. Okay, now we are going to look at this, our human respiratory structure and our adaptations. Okay, I'm sure you're very familiar with this. You have learned about this back in Form 3. Okay, when you learn also about the adaptations, right? So this is our respiratory structure. Okay, what is the name? Alveolus. Okay, alveolus. So now these are the 4 adaptations just now. Large total surface area. Okay, how? By having a lot of them. Okay, therefore it is giving us a large total surface area for diffusion of respiratory gases. Number 2, okay, always moist. For the gaseous, respiratory gases, we're talking about the oxygen, carbon dioxide to dissolve easily. Okay, and to diffuse through the walls. Okay, number 3, large network of blood capillaries. So you can see here, it is being surrounded, being wrapped by this dense network of blood capillaries. Okay, and the last one is thin. When people ask you how thin, okay, you have to say this. Mention the keyword thick, 1 cell thick. Okay, 1 cell thick. So diffusion is much easier. Okay, another video on the human respiratory structure. So let's compare and contrast the respiratory structure in humans and also in other animals. So before that, the similarities, when you say compare and contrast, don't forget to mention the similarities in exam, okay? So all respiratory structures, they have this large TSA to volume ratio, okay, for efficient exchange of respiratory gases. And number 2, thin. If it is thin, diffusion is much easier, faster. Okay, number 3, moist. For the respiratory gases to dissolve in it, you must have this water element. Okay, next, number 4, complete with network of blood capillaries, except the insects. Okay, insects do not have that. So you don't see the red thing inside the insects. Okay, so this is the table showing differences. So the respiratory structure, one by one, just now we have come across them, starting with the insects. We have the tracheal. Okay, still remember, later we are going to look at the mechanism. So fish, we have the filament and the lamellae. Frogs, skins and lungs. And for humans, okay, it is the alveolus. Okay, we're talking about respiratory structure, so you don't put here lungs. Okay, instead you put alveolus. So how the large surface, the large ratio of TSA to volume for the respiratory structure is achieved. Okay, so meaning how are these four organisms having a large TSA to volume ratio. So for insects, they are large in numbers. The tracheals are a lot. Remember the one branching out from the trachea. The tracheals has got a lot, then reaching to the muscle cells. Okay, for fish, large amount of filaments and lamellae. Okay, remember the filaments that attach to the that is in the gills and that are supported by the gill arch. Okay, and a lot of lamellae structure. Okay, and for frogs, the surface in the lungs is folded. Okay, this is an adaptation to achieve large TSA to volume ratio and also the overall skin surface. And for humans, okay, how do we achieve this large TSA to volume ratio? Is by having a lot of alveoli. Okay, so there's a video for you here to click. All right.